Welcome everybody. This is Kiv, and I'm gonna bring you another replay analysis that I found on Reddit. Cast it, the Reddit channel there. This is gonna be a CVP or a PvZ, and we're gonna be looking mostly on the Protoss point of view. Let's just speed the game up a little bit here in the starting moments of the game. It's all pretty standard, and we have our Protoss, whose name I cannot pronounce at all, doing a normal gateway build with one gas. Okay, let's pause right here. We have our Protoss player scouted no gas, no expansion. What this really means is that he's playing blindly at this point. He doesn't know anything about what his opponent is doing, and he doesn't at this point have any probes out on the map. And we'll see where he goes from this. And let's speed right along. Standard probes, warp gate, and units. And our Xurikk player is also doing a pretty standard build with no gas, and we're gonna see what he's gonna be doing. 2 early queens and a double gas. And this looks like a 3-gate expand, which is a very safe build, and it's generally a really go-to build if you want to play really safe. Free Overlord and an expansion. Now, expanding like this, he has scouted the expansion, he has still scouted no gas, and a spine crawler. Now, that tells you that the Xurikk is at least playing a little bit defensively, so you should be more or less free to put up your own expansion and start showing your colors and taking towards whatever should be your goal. Now, in the meantime, the Xurikk is taking a quick third. Now, the quick third is a really good build when you're playing against Forge Fast Expand. But I would say that when you're playing a Protoss that's playing a normal 3-gate expand, it can be slightly risky to take a really fast third if it gets scouted, because that's gonna mean that he's gonna put a lot of pressure on you really fast. And another Overlord gets killed. We're gonna see here if our Protoss player decides to actually move out, if he scouts it. He does have no real scouting units at this point. Again, kind of neglecting the scouting here. And there's hallucination. So we're gonna see a scout real soon. I'm just getting the expansion up, really standard, not much to say. I would be a little bit wary about the Zealot charge upgrade and going too heavy with Zealots. Zealots are really good tanking units, and they're, well, I would say that if your opponent goes too many roaches, then your Zealots are gonna be having so much problems. But it depends on what you scout, really. And as I said before, now we have our Protoss player. He has scouted really risky double expansion from the Xurikk, and he will be putting on some 6-gate pressure, which is really good to do on 2 bases. Tiny comment though, when we're talking about base saturation, I personally prefer to rally my hatcheries to the corresponding mineral patches, and then when my main base gets full, which is about, when you control click on a probe here on this screen, there should be 2 lines of probes plus 2. Actually, that's plus 4. My bad. There should be 2 lines plus 4. So at this base we have 3 probes too many. Transfer them and start rallying your probes down here. Then you don't need to worry about saturation in this base unless it gets harassed later on. But it's a really good tip to just keep an eye on, and just sometimes control click your workers and see how many do I have. Am I having a saturation that's bad, or am I having a saturation that's okay? And it's also a good thing to think about when you're gonna expand. If you have 3 lines of probes here, you're probably gonna need an expansion soon, unless you're cutting probes or something. So 6-gate pressure on a Xurikk that went fast 4 bases. If we take a quick look, we see that the Xurikk has some Zerglings, and he's not going to be able to defend this at all, unless the Protoss walks in here, or here maybe, but he has so many Zealots that this should be no problem. The Xurikk is actually just, in my opinion, forfeiting his bases, because he's been playing so greedy that he's just asking to lose a base, or even 2. We have enough force fields here to block off this round, which is really nice. So there's nothing that's gonna stop us from taking out this base. Keeping your sentries close to the ramp is a really good idea. The sentries, you don't need them here, but if the Xurikk tries to run up here with a large force, then force fielding the ramp is obviously important. Now, the Xurikk is actually doing something that's really smart. He grabs a bunch of lings and he counterattacks. The Protoss doesn't have much to do, and this is obviously a good choice. Now it's gonna come down to, does the Protoss move in, or does he go home? There's actually 8 spine crawlers here, and I don't think he's gonna be able to break that, maybe, with this force. I don't know. So I would probably say that going home is a good choice here. You kill off one of his bases, and if you can defend and then start applying pressure again, that's gonna be really nice. So zealots, zealots, zealots to deal with the Zerglings. The Zerg isn't really paying attention at the moment. And you should also probably start thinking about what you need to tech up to next. Start getting those upgrades going, and maybe Colossi. Colossi is always a good choice because, well, it's Colossi. Now it's back again, applying some pressure after the counterattack is defended, and the Zerg is gonna lose this base, or this base. But the Protoss decides to move right into this base. And there's just so much stuff that the Zerg has no chance of even salvaging this base. He's not building any forces to speak of. He keeps spine crawling up like crazy and building upgrades for his Zerglings, which is an interesting choice, seeing as the Protoss has so many zealots. And basically, we stop the game here and we think about the unit composition. This is really nice. You have a lot of force fields, you have a lot of zealots for the Zerglings, because this player is obviously pretty Zergling heavy. Some roaches are coming out now though. And the only thing, again, here with the, now we're obviously very oversaturated in this base. And I would say spend chrono boosts more on gateways and get some additional tech. I think Robotics Bay would be a nice addition to these gateways. Just a robotics facility and 2-3 more gateways, because you obviously have the minerals, so why not just put them down and expand again. You're playing a Zerg on 2 bases with a third in the making, but he doesn't really have any way to defend that at the moment. You're ahead in probes, and there's just no reason not to just go take the third. You could have probably thought about that a few minutes earlier. And yeah, just keep applying pressure and macro behind it. And the Protoss will probably just move in this way. And 5-6 roaches will probably die pretty fast. This game is over, to be honest. I would like to see some additional tech and upgrades, but it doesn't really look like we're gonna see that. Boasting a huge, like 14 roach army, 15 even. Nice force fields, trapping some of the roaches. Just free roaches and get a cancel on the third. So 2 base Protoss against 2 base Zerg. That's a really good position, and that's where you want to be. Well, I haven't really thought about Protoss play too much, so this analysis might not be very good. I'm very unexperienced when it comes to these things as well, but I hope that I can help you in some way, and that I have some advice for you that will benefit you in one way or the other. So the game is pretty much over. We can just speed along. Mashing some roaches, 56 probes against 27 drones. And there we go. Now, let's take a look before we closed down, under-saturated slightly. Well, the saturation is better now that the third base is up. Obviously, macro better. Additional gateways, 3, 4, 5 additional gateways wouldn't hurt you when you have this much money. Forges, additional tech, Templars, Colossi, anything really. The problem if we pretend that the Xurikk actually just took a third and managed to hold against the first push, and he's playing decently well in upgrades, and you get crushed and you lose your army, and you need to fall back on your production and on your upgrades and how well you've been macroing, then in this position you're most likely gonna die. 6 gateways versus a 3 base Xurikk, if the Xurikk held a third base, that is. But that's not gonna hold, especially not if you're behind 1-1 upgrades or so. But just macro better, think about saturation, think about upgrades, and think about doing some additional tech. If you had Colossi, you would have won this game a long time ago. And I think your decision to apply pressure was a really good decision, and it was definitely the right call to make. Well, that's it for me for this time. I hope I am learning some new things in doing the replay analysis, and I hope that someone benefits from this. Thank you, and I hope to see you again.